welcome to a live. We're here in Carlsbad, California. We're here at Dominique Rogers' office, FFL Golden State. And today I got my man Spencer in the house with us. Spencer, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Doing good. Glad to be here.
Good to have you, dude. You have been in the business, what is it? Is this your third month?
Yep. I started halfway through January, so third month. Yep.
You've come on. You've come on strong. You've had a hot start, man. Working with you, it's been a pleasure, dude. You're someone that's taken the coaching from day one. You're obviously very excited to start the business, and what I love about you, dude, is that excitement hasn't let up from day one. You know what I mean? It's something where, as excited as you were to start this thing, you've gone through some ups and downs, but you're still just as excited today to do it. And that's why it's been a blast working with you, dude. But today I just kind of want to dive into your backstory a little bit. You know what I mean? Like what were you doing before you found this business? What did you see in it? And like, how has this business lived up to what you're doing? So if you could, dude, man, just like give us the quick breakdown of what were you doing prior to FFL? How did you even find that business, and what even attracted you to what you're doing prior to this?
Yeah, man. So I started out in real estate. I've been doing real estate the past 4 or 5 years now, full time. I was a realtor as well as I was flipping houses full time, and I was looking for more. I wanted more. And what I mean by that is I wanted to, number one, get around people who are making a difference, get around people that are out there kicking butt in life. And I ran across FFL, and I was like, I'm super duper blessed to come across FFL, because I've been looking for an opportunity like this forever. Realistically, so what I was doing before is with real estate, I had a lot of success in real estate. At the same time, real estate is super inconsistent. It has ebbs and flows. You're not in control of your income as much as you are in the insurance industry, right? So, we're a lot more in control of our deals and the kind of money that we make in FFL. How did I come across FFL, dude? Is I kept hearing about it, and I kept hearing about life insurance. I didn't really know what it was all about, but then I kept seeing like FFL here and there. And I Googled it, and I came across Bryce, and I was so happy to come across Bryce, and I sent him a message, and that kind of took off with this business, and went through the interview process, and I was really happy that he extended me an offer to come work with him and Dom and everybody. But yeah, man.
So compare this to like what you're doing previously, like with your previous business, like what. Obviously, you're doing it for a while, right? Like, so what are some of the pros of that business? Like, what are some of the things that even attracted you to want to do that in the first place?
Yeah. So, what attracted me to want to do this business in the first place?
No, your previous business.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're in real estate previously, like,
Yep.
like what are the good things? Like, what did you see in that business? Like, how did you see that business taking where you wanted to go? And because you did it for what, like 6 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like. Prior to this, prior to the thought coming in your head of like, hey, I want to explore something else. Like, what attracted you to get into that in the first place?
Cool. Yeah. So the reason I wanted to get into real estate is like from a really young age, I made a decision that I didn't want to work for anybody. And I just kind of seen real estate, I guess, on like YouTube, and like I used to watch like this cheesy guru on YouTube, and he was talking about real estate investing, and that kind of it made me want to get started in real estate, because I kind of seen that as an avenue as to allow myself to be my own boss, to work for myself, start a company, have employees, and really have true financial freedom. And so that's what I looked at real estate like, is like, hey, I can go out and be my own boss. I can go and buy a house and put a bunch of money into it and sell it for a profit and go on and buy another house. And then on the realtor side, I can help people sell and buy houses. And that's really what made me look at real estate as a vehicle to get me where I wanted to be in life.
And so at what point did you start to consider like, okay, like maybe this isn't what, like maybe this isn't as sustainable or as consistent as I maybe thought it was? Like, is there anything specifically that happened, or like what was going through your head? Like, what was kind of that point that was like, you know what? I feel like I'm now in a position where I'm open to start exploring other opportunities outside of real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen the market these last few years kind of go crazy. Like COVID um, shrunk the supply of housing, and the housing market kind of went nuts. And it was good times, right? On the investment side and on the realtor side. On the other end of that, we've seen that level off. And I just looked long term, like, hey man, this ride can't last forever. Um, these the prices that houses are currently selling for now, like who knows what's going to happen? They might go up, they might go down, and I don't want to make a gamble on my future like that. And um, that was like my first time in real estate seeing um, the market change, and I was like, yeah, I want something long term. I want something that I can crush it no matter the economy. You know?
So you say gamble on your future. Like, how do you feel like sometimes that business can be a gamble on your future?
Yeah. So in real estate, it can be a huge gamble on your future because um, the rehab budget on a flip is never guaranteed. You could tear out all the drywall and find a bunch of problems. Bad plumbing, bad electrical, like knob and tube electrical, um, foundation issues, joist issues, roofing issues. Like there's so many things that can be unforeseen that your rehab budget can go 30, 40, $50,000 over budget, and that's your profit margin. And now when you're playing with a housing market that you're not selling the houses for 50, 60, $70,000 above asking, it's like, well, I don't really know if I want to, put my future on the line like that and like have some success and then risk my prior success on another project and then lose it all, you know.
Got you. Makes a ton of sense. And then you were also a real estate agent as well, right?
Yep.
So talk to us a little bit about that. Like, what was that experience like? Like, how did you get your clients? You know what I mean? What was your experience like as a real estate agent? And if I remember correctly, you were really your true passion is when it comes to real estate, and you understand that there's more money in like the flipping and the selling and the investing and selling of property side, right? Not as much the agent side, but didn't you, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you see more as being a real estate agent as having the income to fund that side of the business? So talk to us a little about that. Like what kind of happened where it's like, okay, maybe a real estate agent for yourself wasn't necessarily creating the income that you needed to fund your true passion, which is more investing in the real estate side.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so the reason I got my license and became a realtor was to like fund future flips, and eventually I want to own apartment complexes. I want to own commercial real estate, multifamily, etc. And I was looking for an avenue to, help me fund those dreams and those goals. And so I became a realtor. So on the realtor side, dude, like the past, how long was I a realtor? So I was flipping houses for 5, 6 years, and then I was a realtor for about a year and a half. When I was a realtor, and like I would pound the pavement, I was cold calling, knocking on people's doors, talking to people that weren't interested in buying or weren't interested in selling. And at the end of the year, I kind of looked at it and I was like, man, like I worked really hard, bro, and I didn't really make very much as a realtor. Like I need to be realistic about my future and find the right vehicle that's going to get me to where I want to be, instead of just working hard and not receiving a payoff, you know?
So when you kind of started to have that realization, were you looking at like a bunch of different sales avenues or a bunch of different other, opportunities, or did you like just kind of stumble across this as those thoughts were starting to seep in your head? Or like walk me back to that point where it's like, all right, were you even at a point where it's like, dude, I truly want to find something else and I need to find something else fast? Or was it more of just kind of trickled into your head like, hey, dude, I'm actually starting to feel like I would be open to something else, and then you came across FFL?
I would say it's a mixture of both. Like I knew like, hey man, like being a realtor is not going to work out long term. I was still writing it out because I was like, I'm just going to keep working hard. But I was like checking out other things like, um, I knew I wanted to get around successful people. I mean, I just knew that from the very start. It's like, hey, if like I want to get where I want to be, I need to get around people that are currently successful and are currently like out doing it. Um, and so like, dude, I stumbled across FFL and I stumbled across the life insurance industry.
Mm.
Like I think it was like by pure luck, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you stumbled across it, what was like your initial impression of FFL? What was like the first thing that you saw that even like attracted you to want to even explore, look into it more?
I mean, from the very start, I was like, dude, I wish I would have found out of this like 5 years earlier. Um, what attracted me, dude, is like just like your confidence when we talked on the phone, like your confidence, and then your belief even in me, like, hey, dude, yeah, work hard, like you're gonna do well. And like hearing your confidence, I was like, yeah, dude, like I'm gonna work my butt off. I know I can work. I already do. But like if this dude says I can make like be successful in FFL, I'm gonna do it, dude.
How would you compare like what the sales process of this to you talked about your sales process as a realtor, right? Like how would you compare the sales process as a realtor to the sales process in this business?
This is 100% more controllable. So on the realtor side, there is some control, but the control is you have to leave that up to the lender, the appraiser, the inspector, the client's emotions. Like there's a lot of things that stand between you and closing that deal. On the insurance side, you go to their house or you call them on the phone and you essentially help them out with what they already want. And then like the insurance, like you fill out an app, you get a policy and you get paid. Like the only person in the sales process and insurances is between each other. It's just me and the client.
Yeah, man. I resonate with that a lot. I came from something as well where there was a lot of factors that determine my income aside from just me, right? So like when I was in the logistics industry, I had to depend on the brown truck showing up that day to pick up the packages, right?
Yeah.
And I had to depend on the guy in the warehouse actually using the service that I set him up with, even though he has 25 different screens up and he can actually send his packages out with whoever he wants. So like I could work as hard as I wanted. I have to work really hard to find the client, to get in front of them, to get to the decision maker, to set the whole process up, which is like a couple week long process. And then by the time it comes down for them, for it actually to like start producing income for myself, there's still all these other factors that are in play that determine whether or not I even create income from that. Where with this, it's between you, a phone call, and a client. Like there's one person that or two people that can mess up your income in this business, and it's you and your client.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with a client messing it up because I have enough of them that it doesn't really matter. And I'm more in control of guiding this person along as opposed to having to depend on all these other outside factors of whether or not I make money. Right.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like that's kind of what you were dealing with. It's like, dude, I can work really hard to find the property, to find the funding for it, do whatever I got to do, but there's still all these other factors that are in play to determine whether or not this even is a success and if this is even profitable for me.
Yeah.
Fair to say?
Absolutely it is.
Yeah, man. Well, what about on the realty side? Like or as a real estate agent, right? Like talk to me about the difference in the sales process of being a real estate agent and what you had to do to accumulate clients versus what you've seen and what we do here.
Yeah. So, I mean, accumulating clients on the real estate side, that was essentially cold calling, seeing who visited like our brokerage's website and like calling them. But it's cold calling, right? It's not warm calling. You're calling them out of the blue. They don't know who you are. They don't know why you're calling, etc. They just went on like a website and just like looked at houses, you know. And like that's how you got clients is like you had to like convince them that you're gonna like crush it as a realtor, and or like referrals. Referrals are people that you know, and real estate's huge on the realtor side. And I mean, I'll even go as far back like on the investing side, like you're looking for houses off market, and you're spending a lot of money on leads, and you're door knocking, you're driving around, like it's called driving for dollars. Like you're driving around looking for houses that are beat up, and then you're going and you're trying to figure out who owns it, and then you have to figure out their phone number, and then you got to cold call them. and then you got to figure out if they want to sell, and you have to sell them on the fact that it's going to be a lot easier to sell to you than on the market, et cetera, et cetera. And so with FFL, it's quite a bit different in acquiring clients. Like these people actually go online and they're filling out a form requesting that we get a hold of them to help them with their insurance. And on the flip side of that, they fill out a form in the mail. They walk it to their mailbox. They send it out in the mail. Like there's high intent with these customers, and these clients, I should say. So I would say that like with FFL versus on the realtor side, like, I mean, we just deal with warm clients, to be quite honest here, and it makes it a lot easier.
100%, man. I mean, you kind of have I say an advantage because you have perspective on the value of being able to utilize leads because you've came from something where there were no leads and you had to create it all for your own, right? So when you have a bad day on the phones, it's still a better day than with no leads, right? So you have that perspective of like, dude, me getting my butt kicked on the phones right now is still way much less of a butt kicking than I got doing my previous sales job where they're literally like, if I got one appointment, it was a great day.
Yeah.
Right? And dude, same thing with what I came from. And dude, we used to joke that we would be willing to pay money for a list of companies that were willing to switch from their current provider to us. Like we'd be willing to pay money for a list of companies that were open to what we're selling. That's what this is. You know what I mean? So when you come from something like that, where it's just like you're spending 90% of your time just generating the potential leads on your own, you have a great perspective on like, dude, we actually get to only reach out to people that have already generated that interest. 90% of the work has just been done. So like we get to invest money to find the people that are interested.
Yeah.
And we used to joke, I would be willing to invest money to find people that are interested because I just know if I can get in front of them, I know what I could do with that, right? Like imagine if you paid for a list, and maybe this exists, but it probably doesn't exist to the same extent that it does in the insurance business, where it's just like, imagine if you paid $1,000 for a list of companies, or I'm sorry, $1,000 for a list of people that were saying, hey, I want to buy a home, but I just don't have anybody to help me with that. Like, what would you do with that?
Dude, that would be nuts. It's not really out there, you know? Like, even when you're cold calling and stuff, it's like, oh, my cousin Jimmy is a realtor. I'll just go with him.
Right.
Like, you know, like that's, dude, if that list was out there, that'd be nuts. But like, I don't think that's a thing.
Because you know what you could do with that, right? Like, yeah. Dude, it's just like, I'd be willing to pay that money because I know what that list would return to me. And in so many other industries, that list either doesn't exist because of scarcity. Because, dude, there's just, when you think about how many people qualify for insurance, it's literally everybody. And people buy insurance multiple times. So it's everybody multiple times. Everybody is not selling a home, and everybody's not selling a home multiple times.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with like solar. Like the reason that leads like this, there are leads in solar, but leads don't exist in solar like they do in insurance because not everybody has a home that they're willing to put solar panels on because not everybody has a home.
Yeah.
Right? And then once you put solar panels on, more than likely you're not doing it again. So like great, I'm not knocking it, like great business. But when you just think about how many people we have access to, it's literally everybody multiple times. Yeah. But it's just the ones that fill out the forms of those everybody.
Yeah.
Even better, right? So yeah, man, like and again, like I'm not knocking anybody. Like if you don't come from a sales background where you don't have that experience of working cold lead, like not having leads, like it's all good. But I'm just saying, like you having the perspective of I get to work leads, I think is probably what fuels your a huge reason that fuels your continually positive attitude in this business.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Absolutely, dude. It's huge when you're on a dial day and like you can go down the list of 100 and book 20 of them, you know, for the next 2 days, and they're already interested. Like I don't have to go to their house and convince them to buy insurance from me. And if I do have to convince them, I'll just go to the next client because there's so many leads. Yeah. You know.
So where where do you see this business taking you? Like, I remember our initial conversation, what I liked about it wasn't just like, dude, I need to make money. Like, you had a reason why you wanted to make money. So, like, talk to me about how you saw this business and where it could take you and what you wanted to do with the income that you make from this business. And like, is that still something? Is that still how you view this business, and has it lived up to that?
It is. Yeah, it really is. And it was a couple of things. Like, number one, like one of the most important things is like, dude, I don't want to um, get in this business and do it for 2-3 years. I want to get into a business and do it long term. I want to do it for the next 20, 30, 40 years. And I looked at it from a point of like, dude, people still need life insurance even if the economy's rocking or if it's not. And like, even now in real estate, from the industry I came in, if the economy's not doing so well, you're not selling very many houses, and we're not really affected by a bad or good economy. Like, it just goes, you know.
You still have a passion for real estate, right?
Yep.
So talk to me about how you look at this business to fuel that passion for real estate.
Yeah. So I look at this business as a passion to fuel real estate. Like, in terms of like, I can create the kind of income for myself to where I can afford to go out and buy multifamily housing. I could go out and afford to buy apartment complexes. I could go out and afford like any real estate transaction I want to do and take part in. And like, that's what that's what I want to do long term.
Love it, man. So talk to me about, you're building a team, right? So who are you looking to work with, right? Like, what would you say to somebody that is like potentially in your shoes that might not know that this is out there? You know what I mean? Talk to the person that's like, hey, I'm doing something. I have a passion for it. I like it, but I'm now in a position where I might be open to something else, like, but just hasn't found FFL yet. Dude, like, talk to that person and how you think this can help them.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Like, who I'm looking to bring into this business and rock it with me is, I'm looking for dudes that want to work hard. Dudes or girls, like, it don't matter. But like, if you want to work hard, like, and you're disciplined and you have goals, you have ambitions, and you do what you're gonna say you're gonna do, that's the kind of people that I'm looking for. And if you haven't found this business yet, like, this business is huge. Like, I've always been the kind of person that works hard and is disciplined and just puts my head down and works. And I'm looking for people just like that. And I can really rock with people like that because, I mean, this business, like, it literally just rewards hard work. Like, the harder you work, the more you're going to get rewarded. And it's like I'm not the most skilled person in the world in sales or anything like that. I just know how to work hard, and that's what I'm good at. And I can relate to people like that.
Dude, you saying this business actually rewards hard work? Like, the harder you work, the better you do, the more you make. Like, that sounds like, oh, of course. But, dude, that's actually so true. And unfortunately, there are a lot of businesses out there where that's not the case. Like, we both came from something where it's not like we were lazy or you weren't working hard, but your hard work didn't always equate to additional income. Where, as cliche as it might sound, like, as hard as it might be believed, that's actually the case here.
Yeah.
Right? And so, yeah, dude, you've come into this thing. You've been running at a fast pace. What would your advice be to somebody that says, like, hey, I'm looking at this business, I see it as something that can fuel my passion and what I want to do with my life, but how do I get started? Like, what do I got to do? Like, what are the steps I got to take in terms of what kind of time, effort, energy, commitment do I got to make? Like, what would be your recommendation to somebody that's looking to get started to make sure they also have a fast start and everything they see in this business gets fulfilled? And don't get me wrong, everybody's on a different timeline, right? Some people have different things going on, so it's not like everybody has to be at the exact same point at the exact same time. But at the same time, like, this is not a business that it should take a year, 6 months to be profitable and to be enjoyable and to get good at, right? Like, it's pretty simple. So what would you say to that person that's like, all right, dude, I want to get started in this thing. How do I also have a fast start?
Having a fast start, dude, is like, it comes down to being at every training, recording your phone calls on dial day, and sending that either to your manager or sending, listening back to yourself and making corrections where you need to make corrections. And I mean, scheduling wise, dude, like for myself, I looked at this business, was like, dude, I want to crush it from the very start. And I don't want to wait around, just like Bryce said, I don't want to wait around to be successful for a long time. Like I want to get it now. I want to get it done now. And so like for myself, and everyone's going to have their own schedule, whether you're part-time, full-time. Like I just took advantage of every little bit of time I have, and I still do, um, to grow this business. And so I can kind of explain my schedule. So like what my schedule looks like is Monday on dial days, I start dialing at 7:30 in the morning. I get done at 8:30 at night. And then on Tuesday, Wednesdays, I'm out running appointments from 8 o'clock in the morning, sometimes earlier, until about 8:30 at night, if not later, if need be. And on Thursday, same thing, 7:30 to 8:30 at night. And then I'm running on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm running that same kind of schedule, like 8 to 8:30, earlier or later if necessary.
What would you say is the number one most important thing to focus on as a new agent getting started, and like how do you take the action towards focusing on
I would say the most important thing is to be a sponge and to listen to the people that are really rocking it in this business. Um, do what works. Like it's just rinse and repeat. I just like watched you and Chantel and like what the top producers are doing, and I'm kind of just copying you, you know, and figuring out what works for myself, obviously, but at the same time, like, um, just kind of like looking at people that have walked before me and have done what basically like where they're at is exactly where I want to be,
that?
and so I just kind of look at that and I just copy that.
Last thing, dude. Give us a phones tip, because you took the coaching well, and you were not confused that this business is 98% the phones, right? Like you've from day one, you've been good at getting in front of people. Not that you were great on the phones day one, but you've gotten pretty good on the phones, and after 3 months, and you've worked really hard at it. So, dude, talk to us about, again, like if I'm a new agent, I'm just getting started, I might be looking at products and underwriting, and like there's a lot involved in this business, right? Recruiting, like how do I do all that? But you've done a really good job of just sticking to the basics, focusing on the phones, getting in front of people, and then everything kind of falls in place from there. So talk to us about what you did leading up to starting this business, continuing once you got started to get good on the phones, and like what would you be your advice to somebody that wants to sit down with as many people as you've sat down with in their first 3 months?
Yeah. So like first of all, when I started, I got licensed and I started making phone calls for Bryce until I was able to get contracted. And from there, what I did is I was still recording my calls, like even before I was ready to go hit the field. Like I was recording my calls all the time and listening to myself back and making tweaks here and there to figure out what works, what doesn't work. If I sound a little cheesy here, I'm gonna make course correction here, change it, and then from there, it really was like my first day on the phone. Um, my focus was just to be locked in. To be locked in, we have Zoom dials, and so I just unmuted myself, and I knew that like if anything I was saying needed to be changed, like someone would help me with that on Zoom dials. So I was just unmuted, camera on, just calling. And I knew it. I knew as well because I feel like some new agents kind of get this like hesitancy when you first are on the phones. You're nervous, and I get it. But at the same time, like the client can't like reach out of the phone and like smack you if you say the wrong thing, So like, just like be you, be yourself, um, and stay focused. Like that's what's been really big for me from day one is like eliminating any distractions that can get in the way. Because on a dial day when you're dialing, like there's distractions. Let's be real. Like you're gonna get phone calls on your cell phone. You're gonna get text messages. We have social media, Instagram, TikTok. Like we have all these other things that can like possibly distract us. Eliminate those distractions. Like just don't do them, and just stay locked in on the phone. And Zoom dials really helped as well because like, dude, like you're held accountable. Like you're like your face like is on Zoom. Like if you're like on your phone, like what are you doing? Like just stay locked in, and that's really what's helped me. And I think for newer agents, like just stay locked in, focused. Like don't let yourself get distracted, and don't trick yourself into thinking you're working hard when you're not. actually reflect on your day and say, hey, if I was this person's boss, like if I was my own boss, how do I think he did? And so sometimes during the day I'll like have that reflection is like, dude, like if I have an employee, like I want him to work hard for me, so I'm gonna work my butt off for myself, you know.
Be the agent you want to hire.
Yeah.
100%, man. Well, good stuff, dude. It's been a blast watching you rock this business, and we're just getting started. So thanks for flying down here from Washington, man. It's been a pleasure, and thank you guys for joining us. Everybody have a good day.